I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Some of that being me giving all of my mom's money to a guy that catfished me in a gacha game, spending a lot of money on WoW tokens. I played several pay-to-win games, 2 degrees down the drain to play video games. But with those mistakes, chat, there's one thing that I've gained, and that is knowledge. Knowledge. Today, I'm gonna bestow some of that knowledge on you. I'm gonna share my experiences with the WoW community. I'm gonna tell you what is wrong with games today, how we got here, and I'm gonna tell you how you can avoid getting gotcha'd, catfished, and spending all your money in a video game, and finding out if that video game is right for you. Let's begin. The microtransaction. In video games, a microtransaction is a transaction when consumers, when me, particularly me, this is the mistake I made. I gave all of my money to various video games when I was growing up. Now, if you guys don't know when this started, it actually started, historians say, the first major game to introduce microtransactions was Oblivion in 2006. The industry has changed over time. Some people say for the worse. We have Grumps here who used to work at Blizzard. He had this long Twitter thread where basically he talked about the idea that designers used to make games that they loved and they cared about the game and it was important to them. You know, they wanted to see their vision come to life, and those are the people that got into making video games. But now it's different. Now people are getting into the industry. They might be talented, but they only care about the money. Fantasized career where you're making good money, you're working 9 to 5, you're putting in the 8 hours, and then you pack your bags and you leave for the day. However, as players, we expect more out of these people, right? You know, everyone sucks Yoshi P's hog, right? No one sucks Ian's hog, and maybe rightfully so.
No pay to win.
I want you guys to know. But everyone expects every game designer, developer to be like Yoshi P. And if you're like someone else, maybe you're a guy that just works 8 hours, you should be working more. Even as Steve Jobs said, if you guys have seen that comparison video where they talk about IBM. And IBM was a company that had a monopoly in the tech industry for a while. And because they had a monopoly in the tech industry, they started giving more power to those who could make better financial decisions, and they stopped investing so much in the people that started creating great products, which is what you kind of see with World of Warcraft today and other MMOs. But like all industries, they change over time, even in the sports industry, right? Some of you guys watch MMA, but it exists in every sport where athletes, in the beginning, they only cared about the sport itself. That was the most important thing to them. But over time, athletes became concerned with how much money they were making. Doesn't mean they're not good athletes. Doesn't mean it's wrong that you care about making money from your profession. The whole point is right now, I think this is the time where it's very important for us to learn how to draw the line in the sand. And we're going to talk about times where that line in the sand was crossed and what happens when you do that, when you kind of burn your customers. When you burn your customers and you try to milk them like a fucking cow. And this is where it begins. This is a quote from Steven Sheriff. Do you guys know who Steven Sheriff is? Ashes of Creation. Okay? This is a quote from him. Now, this was found in a Discord. Okay? He was seen in a Discord. He was commenting on New World, and they're hinting at having quality of life features for purchase or convenience purchases in their game. Maybe you're gonna have some level boosts. Maybe you're gonna have some experience scrolls. After he was found saying this about the game and kind of crapping on, he did go out and apologize, but then later he went out to release a package where you could purchase Ashes of Creation Alpha. Now, I know it's included in the package. I know they came out and said that, hey, this isn't supposed to be this. We don't want people buying this $500 package to get into the alpha. It's just something that we're offering our players. But the reality is, and they know this too, whether you say it or not, there are gonna be people that are gonna spend $500 to get that alpha, because everything on that list that's included in that package, the 9 months of game time, the skins, the cash up currency, none of that is tangible yet. The game's not even close to being out. The only thing that you get today for giving them $500 is that alpha. And although I totally understand the intent, and I get he did it, he doesn't want to do that. As far as marketing goes, it doesn't look good releasing some. People are going to say that your alpha costs $500. That's what people are going to say. Whether it's true or not, or that's not the intent of it, they're going to get mad at you for a $500 alpha. So monetizing things in video games is a very sensitive topic. Okay, and when you look at MMOs in general, you have several business models. Okay, you have World of Warcraft, and this is where we get to what I think is the biggest problem with World of Warcraft today. It is the holy grail. The holy grail for monetization. You have a box cover cost. You have a subscription fee. You have cosmetic cash shop purchases. You have convenience purchases. And you have the ability to then buy in-game currency with real-life money. That in-game currency can be used to get various boosts in the game that can get you gear, and that's all allowed within the terms of service, which is why people will say World of Warcraft is a pay-to-win game. You also have Final Fantasy, which is another model that you'll see in other games where they have maybe a lower box cost or a cheaper subscription fee, and then they just sell you convenience and cosmetic purchases. So you have this middle ground, and then you have games that are free to play, and then some games with cash shop features, and some games fall in between these. Why do companies have a cash shop in the first place? It's because the whale, someone that's willing to spend thousands of dollars in a video game. Now the whale isn't necessarily always a bad thing, because the whale, it's like there's a whale out there, and then some of you guys are like the little fishies. You don't want to pay for anything at all, and you swim underneath the wake of the whale. The whale is willing to give them shitloads of money. They might be a big part of the game and why the game gets regular updates, why Bobby Kotick buys a yacht, whatever the meme might be. But because of the whale, Kaiser, the little fishy, gets to play the game, right? He gets to enjoy the game at a low cost. And we're gonna talk about how the whale isn't particularly, spitting on the whales and shitting on the whales, although it's crazy their spending habits, it isn't actually the problem, right? It's how the company then begins to favor the whale. You're about to find out some crazy shit about how companies in the past have favored whales. Let's say you're the guy that's like unhappy, right? You're unhappy with the current MMO models. You don't know what game to play. Maybe you recently stopped playing WoW. Maybe you're playing Final Fantasy and you want to play something else. Maybe you don't want to play Final Fantasy and you're wondering what games to play. There's other games coming out. Do I play Lost Ark? I heard that's pay to win. I might go play New World. Well, I've broken it down into some steps. This is what I've learned over time, chat. This is based on all the mistakes that I've made, all the Gamba games I've spent, all the loot boxes I've bought. If you ever feel bad about your life decisions, look at me and you'll feel a lot better. The first thing you need to ask yourself when deciding to play a new game, obvious, I know, right? Don't go to websites like fucking MMORPG.com. This is an easy fucking step. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys haven't figured this one out yet. The best way to do it is go to websites like YouTube or Twitch. Generally, that's a rule of thumb. If you see one of these bad boys, it's probably a good time. If you go to the chat and you see some of these in the game, it's probably a good time. Ask the streamer if you want. Look at some videos. Look around on the internet. Okay? When you are surfing the internet, the one major thing that you need to look out for is that you don't get bamboozled by sponsored videos. Now, listen, man, I get it. Doing a Raid Shadow Legends sponsor, a stream, a Bless Unleashed stream, I don't blame people for doing it. You know why? Because this is a short-time career. Making videos is a short-term thing. Streaming is a short-term thing. It's not a long-term thing. Very rare do you have a long-term career in this industry. Bless Unleashed, make sure you don't get bamboozled by the videos. See if it's an ad, a sponsor. It's part of the game. Okay? Don't go to websites like MMORPG.com and don't get bamboozled by Twitch ads. Step number 2, it's ramping up here. Does it affect me? Does the monetization in this game affect me as a player and what I want to do? Again, this is where you draw your line in the sand. Maybe WoW tokens don't bother you. Maybe they actually don't, and that doesn't mean it's wrong. If WoW tokens don't bother you, then it doesn't matter, right? It's what affects you as a player. Okay, I'm gonna tell you how I feel about pay to win and monetization features. This is how I feel about it. I can't answer this question for you. It varies person to person. It's all about person to person and what bothers you. So let's first define what pay to win is. And this is the definition for me that I would agree with. It's different from person to person, right? You ask somebody else, they say, oh, I think it's pay to progress, pay for convenience. They have different definitions. My pay to win is this definition. Considered pay to win when a player can gain a gameplay advantage over their non-paying players. Right? So you get an advantage in the game over me. You're stronger than me because you paid real life money in an aspect of the game that I personally care about. Here we go. I've never given a shit However, this is just my opinion. Doesn't make it right. This is how I view video games. I don't give a fuck about PvE pay to win. I just don't. Don't care about level boosts. I don't care if you buy PvE carries. Not saying it's good for the game, and we'll talk about that in step 3, but it's right now we're talking about what affects me personally. Then we'll talk about how it might affect the game. But for me, I always think of it as this example. Okay? I'm going to the gym and this guy looks like me IRL. My elbow is the biggest part of my entire arm. No cap. It's the same. Look at it. This is my elbow is thicker than the rest of my arm. That's not fucking normal. So that's me at the gym, right? Let's say Savix is going to the gym, but then Savix decides to juice the fuck up. He starts injecting, he's juicing. For me, I don't really care about that, right? It doesn't make my journey in the gym any less meaningful because Savix is juicing up. That's how I've always thought about it. Again, telling you what bothers me, not what's right in games. It varies, again, it varies person to person, okay? When it does bother me is when it's PvP. When now, let's say Savix and I are gonna get in like a boxing match and I have to go against Savix. That's when it would piss me off. Okay, that's when I would get really fucking annoyed. That's when I'm like, that's my line in the sand. Again, we're talking about what's your line in the sand. That's my line in the sand, right? What varies player to player, what's your line in the sand? So you have to ask yourself this: am I able to enjoy the game without spending any additional money? If no, uninstall or swipe your credit card. Those are your options. You can uninstall the game, move on if it bothers you, or swipe your credit card and be like the other people that are wailing it up if that bothers you. If yes, you're still able to enjoy the game without spending additional money, then move on to step 3. And this is perhaps one of the most important steps here. Has it hurt the game? So step 2 was, did it affect me as a player? And you said no. Now we're gonna find out, has it affected the game? Because it might not affect you, but this is when it really matters. How does the company react to the whales, right? We talked about the whale, and I said it's not the whale's fault. In my opinion, it's not the whale's fault. It's on the company and how they react to the whale. Do they favor the whale? Do they start making changes based on the whale? Does it affect the game in general? Are they making too much money now where they don't care about the quality of the content? The IBM Steve Jobs scenario. Has the quality of the content suffered, and are players leaving your game due to monetization? Now, I have a World of Warcraft chart here, but we're gonna talk about other games as well. We're not gonna just talk about World of Warcraft because I don't wanna just pick on the game specifically, but it is a great example. Here is a Blizzard example. On the left, you have the earnings report for Q1 2017. In 2017 Q1, that was the launch of Overwatch and World of Warcraft Legion. Now, in that quarter, they brought in $441 million with 41 million monthly active users. Let's fast forward to today. The last earnings report, Q2 2021. They have 26 million, so nearly half the monthly active users, $433 million. So nearly half the monthly active users, but nearly the exact same amount of money. This is Blizzard's. We're not talking about, look at Activision. Activision's pumping. Call of Duty's pumping this quarter. We're talking about Blizzard. The MAUs aren't as important as how much they're making, right? Who cares how many monthly active users you have? That's why right here, this is the number that the investors want to see. Oh, you guys are bringing in $433 million. Now it is less, but this is when Legion and Overwatch came out. So the cash shop purchases, the skins, all of those things, they're making up for that. Making up for your $15. And then you have Lineage with NCSoft. Now these games are notoriously extremely pay to win. And they decided to put a change in the game where it would favor some of the players that don't want to spend a lot of money in their game. It was going to be with their abilities and how you upgrade your abilities. When the whales, that's why we have a killer whale on the screen. When the whales found out that they were going to make this change, they got together and rioted. Some of them showed up to the actual company parking lot and got arrested and got taken out because they were so pissed off. Some of them that had spent millions said, I will not buy, if you put this change through, I will not purchase any more items in your game. I will not make any more in-game purchases if this change goes through that favors the players that aren't willing to pay actual money. With that, they also said, I will grief players. I will grief free-to-play players. I will kill them on site if you do this. Instead of banning this guy for threatening them, instead of ignoring him, The company that is known so well, just like fucking Blizzard, to not make changes like that, right? To take a long time to act on anything. They did a last minute change to revert the change that would favor the player that wasn't willing to spend a lot of money to keep their whales happy. We want you to keep paying for our stuff. We won't put this change in the game. Now, I talked to Saint, okay? Saint is a big MMO expert. He's somebody I've met through Lost Ark, and he's played other MMOs, a lot of Korean MMOs, and he knows a lot about that market. He goes on to say that earlier this year, it was discovered that the top MMORPG in Korea, MapleStory, had made a severe error in its monetization practices, along with other issues that arose. It led to an exodus of players seeking a home in a new MMORPG. Now, he goes on to say that Smilegate, which is the company that's responsible for Lost Ark, is one of the only companies in Korea that is seen in a positive light. It feels like they made their game catered around to free-to-play players and non-spenders rather than treating them like third-class citizens. Lost Ark is the FF14 to World of Warcraft, but for all MMOs in Korea. Now, when you hear a lot of people complain about Lost Ark and they have a negative view on this game in particular, it's the same exact story as A Realm Reborn. Season 2 is A Realm Reborn, is the fucking cataclysm that happened in Final Fantasy. The game, when it came out, was not very good. Players were really upset about the monetization practices. And there's this big, there's this big notion that people in the Eastern markets in Korea, they're okay with MTX. They like pay to win games. Nobody likes to get fucking milked like a cow. However, this article goes on to write that Smilegate's Lost Ark rewrites the rules of the online PC game market. This is the line in the sand that we were talking about earlier. I think we are moving in the direction, if I can go back to the very first slide, it's a long ways away. But right now, I feel like we are trying to find the happy medium with your customers, your audience. What level of monetization is acceptable? So again, doing right by your customers, Lost Ark doing that. Now the players in Korea view Lost Ark and Smilegate in a positive light. For them, Lost Ark is their Final Fantasy 14. And he goes on to say, that the director of Lost Ark is compared to Square's Yoshi P, the director of Final Fantasy 14. That's why they care about this game so much. There's so many positive things about the game, and that's why the game is actively growing, right? It's getting bigger as time goes on. Similar to Final Fantasy, the game is growing. Players are positive about the game. More people are joining the game today, and it's actively growing. These games are growing, while some games are on the decline because of things like this. You tell your audience that we're not going to have level boosts. The classic experience is going to be authentic. Now, again, this doesn't affect me. I don't really care. But when you implement level 58 level boosts, you don't ban the bots. You put a store mount in the game. You give them weird toys in the game. You're monetizing a game that was supposed to be a classic experience, authentic experience. People are going to get pissed off. You don't release content for a really, really long time. You're expecting a big patch. And with that patch, you get another 6-month subscription. When you're upset about the game and they put stuff like this in the game, it's going to piss people off. And that's what's happened. And you can ask yourself, I don't care about level boosts. I don't care about 6-month subs. I don't care about store mounts in WoW. I don't care about the TBC package. But some people do care. And you have to ask yourself, do they favor the people that are spending money over the people that are not? The final and most important point with all of this stuff, when you're picking your new game or you're considering playing a new game, you need to not be on copium. Just like the guy that gets all offensive, you don't want to be the guy that's super defensive about your game. You just don't want to be that guy anymore. Trust me, learn from experience from me. Like I told you, I fucked up my life. Okay, remember, this is the knowledge. This is the knowledge that I've gathered along the way. Buy a game, play a game to just play it for a month, 2 months, 3 months. And if you enjoy it, you'll stay longer. Don't invest yourself in this game. It's not worth it, because at any point the game can fuck you over. They can do changes that they don't like. They can go from being your best friend to being a company that you don't like anymore. Just go into the game and see if you enjoy it and have fun. That's all you're doing. Seeing if you're getting value for your money. The final and most important tip, absolutely the most important tip of this entire video, the one that matters the most. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, chat. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am below on all of the metrics. I'm supposed to have 10% people that have notifications turned on. I have 7. 5% of you are supposed to have all notifications on. I have 4. And 75% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. I need you guys. I want to get 100,000 subs. My mom told me I should have been a doctor. Every time I go to a family party, a family gathering, my cousin's there. And I have to lie to him and tell him that I'm a Minecraft YouTuber. Because it's embarrassing. He asked me, do I have 1 million subs? I say I have 2 million. In reality, I don't even have 100K subs. Today, after the stream, I'll be like a 60K Andy with like 50 extra subs. But 50 extra subs is 50 closer to getting 100,000 subs. And also, please follow my Twitch. Okay? Please. For the love of fucking God. It's one button. It would make my fucking day. Someone out there is watching and they're not following. It's free. Thank you.